Here we are with Dustin Pickering, editor-in-chief of Transcendent Zero Press, as well as Harbinger Asylum, its quarterly journal. Today we're going to just give a little update to see what has been going on in Mr. Pickering's life. He's just going to answer a few questions and read a couple of poems. First of all, Dustin, I realize you and quite a few other poets, who I'm not going to mention, have been going through a serious bout of writer's block, at least up until recently. Can you tell me what might have caused this, and what you've done to slowly get yourself back on the rat and horse?
Well, I told the muse to flee this earth. I said, exit from my space. I would like you to give me room to adjust myself to everyday life. And she politely responded by withdrawing her nurturing from all poets generally except a few. And I'm guessing she moved back into my head and spoke some words, and I had some ideas, and I came back to writing partially because I had some stimulation. I had a few ideas that needed to be put on paper, and that's the story and all she wrote.
Get it? All she wrote. Ja, 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 ja. No, so what is this major league project you have been working on, sir? The one you're going to submit to Kariti?
It's called Knows No End, and it's sort of like a poetic exploration of trying to grasp eternal truth and why that is technically impossible. And the way I express this is there's a painter in a meadow who discovers a flower on the ground, and it's a hyacinth flower, and she proceeds to try to paint this flower, and the book is separated into seasons, and basically for the purpose of showing the transitory nature of the external natural world. And she's trying, as she's painting, to get to the heart of what this hyacinth is, and it's kind of a metaphor for truth. And basically in the last section, which will be the spring section, I actually use the story of Hyacinth where he's playing with Apollo, and Apollo throws the discus and it hits him in the head, and it kills him. I'm taking that story and sort of making it a big metaphor for struggle with truth, and a few other things related to humankind, and basically the book is intended to be a poetic exploration of everything from the pursuit of truth, like I said, the pursuit of truth, to sort of an understanding of what makes something beautiful. And that's one of my big questions in a lot of my poetry. And the book will be dedicated to Vera Icon, a local painter and model who is a friend of mine. We actually used one of her paintings for the spring 2015 edition of Harbinger. And anyway, she sort of came into the picture as that because as I was brainstorming for this project, I decided that there would be a painter that was painting this flower, and I was kind of joking that the painter was Vera. So I sort of tried to symbolically I'm using Vera in my mind and my imagination as the painter, the painter in that book, and so I dedicated it to her, and so that's what we have to look forward to. That will be published soon after I've completed it.
Definitely. And now, other than botanical aesthetics, what do you think the other element of aesthetics would be in this book? Like, what in your opinion? Well, not really opinion, but as the creator, what is the ultimate element of beauty in this particular volume?
Well, I'm thinking in that book what I sort of express is the idea that the appreciation of beauty is rooted in a quest for the eternal, and that as you get deeper towards the eternal, there is a sense of reward, an elevation, a kind of applause that you maybe feel internally. It's not exactly an applause, but basically that whole purpose is to, you know, your, I guess your pleasure centers are activated by beauty, and you know, your brain kind of gets stimulated, and you know, depending on, you know, when you really have that kind of gasping sense from looking at something that's just startlingly magnificent, it's larger than life. We're not talking here about, you know, sexual allure or anything. We're talking about aesthetic beauty, you know. You know, when you see a painting that just stuns you, you're like, wow, the entire thing just encompasses a whole nother world, and you're just enraptured by it. I think part of that comes down to this moment in time that's been snapshotted, or you know, this particular idea that's so well expressed, that so beautifully expressed, and in a sense that you feel like, you know, poets are taking what everyday life experience does to everyone and turning it into a very imaginative, enlightened form of communication, using language to bring you closer to what you already know, and saying something that you wish you could have said in the way that it was said. And so you look at that and you're like, you know, you read it or you hear it and you think, you know, that's exactly what I feel, but I just didn't have the power to say it that way. You know, that's one thing poetry does, and you know, very high concepts, I think, can generally only be expressed in art. And like I said, you know, the search for the eternal, which, you know, the eternal could be anything. It comes down to really what the nature of existence is at its deepest root.
Definitely. That's beautiful in and of itself. Well, before we conclude this interview, would you mind reading us a couple of poems, please?
I'll read this one from Selfhood called "The Fruits of Sorrow." The wound will not heal. I lose you in struggle, O word, the true freedom. We stretch the skies, winding the world in shadows of mirth. Cry, O oblivion, the mind will hear. Cry, O dark one, and see the fruits of sorrow banished.
Wow. Damn.
And I'm going to read one. This was written about my friend's. My friend's dad is a painter, and he had a whole group of paintings that we were taking from the office back to his truck to have him take them back to his house. And I made a comment about the subjects of the painting, and I said, you know, the bird, the man, and the graveyard. And my friends turned to me and said, you know, that should be a poem. And so it is now a poem. The bird, the man, and the graveyard. There, running like a stream in light foot, is the shadow. A man stands still, etched in black mist, like ink coloring the horizon. A colorful bird floats his way, and envy takes note. Like the witch's cauldron spilling onto the cottage floor, the rainbow light forms over his being. A soul will never be deluded into seeing what isn't there. In the graveyard lurks a stare.
Wow. There you have it, the current sampling from Dustin Pickering. Look out for his next book that will soon be published that will soon be published upon completion. We will figure out a tentative date soon. Here is ZMY's, the cameraman, signing off. Poetry live!